Happy Wednesday and welcome to Overnight Defense. I'm Ellen Mitchell, and here's your nightly guide to the latest developments at the Pentagon, on Capitol Hill and beyond. Click here to subscribe to the newsletter. The top line: the House on Wednesday easily passed a bill that would require President Donald John Trump Schultz won't say if he will sell all Starbucks shares if he becomes president. Sarah Sanders cites El Chapo in push for border security. Pence rips Omar's inadequate apology for tweets criticized as anti-Semitic. More to withdraw U.S. military support from the Saudi Arabia-led coalition in Yemen. In a 248-177 vote that largely fell along party lines, the House sent the War Powers Resolution to the Senate, where it is also expected to pass and confront Trump with the possibility of issuing the first veto of his presidency. The only patriotic thing: if you care about our troops, if you care about American interests, if you care about the outrage that the Saudis are inflicting on Americans and on the world, then the only patriotic thing to do is to vote for this resolution. Representative R.O. Kani Rohit, R.O. Kanatha Hill's 1230 report, presented by Kidney Care Partners. Negotiators look to revive stalled border talks this week. Border deal remains elusive as shutdown looms. Dem tells Venezuela's Guaido, "You don't get to authorize U.S. military interventions more." D. Calif, the resolution's chief House sponsor, said ahead of the vote. What the resolution does: the resolution that the House passed would direct the president to withdraw U.S. military forces in or affecting Yemen within 30 days unless they are fighting al-Qaeda or associated forces. The United States has been providing logistics, intelligence sharing and arms sales to the Saudi-led coalition fighting around backed Houthi rebels. Previously, the U.S. military also provided aerial refueling to coalition jets, but the administration suspended that support in November. The background: the vote comes at a time when congressional anger at Saudi Arabia over last year's killing of U.S.-based journalist and Saudi dissident Jamal Khashoggi is being reignited. The Trump administration declined to follow a congressionally mandated deadline Friday to report on whether Saudi leadership, including Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is responsible for Khashoggi's slaying and should be sanctioned. The Trump administration previously levied sanctions on some Saudi officials over the killing, but lawmakers have demanded stronger action. Trump, though, has resisted anything that could affect the U.S.-Saudi alliance. Last year, searching for a way to punish the Saudis, the Senate passed a resolution similar to the one that passed the House on Wednesday to withdraw U.S. military support in Yemen. The measure did not advance in the House, which was controlled by the GOP at the time. But Democrats, upon taking control of the House, fulfilled their pledge to prioritize a vote on the war in Yemen, making it their first major foreign policy vote of the year. What else happened at the votes? In Wednesday's votes, the House also approved 252-177 a Republican-offered amendment to the bill meant to ensure the United States can continue intelligence sharing with any foreign country. The House also unanimously approved a GOP-offered amendment saying it is in the U.S. national security interest to combat anti-Semitism, which was offered amid an unrelated controversy over a tweet from Representative Ilhan Omar. Omar Pence rips Omar's inadequate apology for tweets criticized as anti-Semitic. Web presidential hopefuls underline Democrats' strong leftward drift. Rep. Steve King pushes GOP to reinstate his committee assignments. More D-Min, that was condemned as anti-Semitic and for which she has since apologized. Veto threats linger. The White House has issued a veto threat against the Yemen resolution. The statement of administration policy called the resolution flawed because U.S. forces are not directly involved in hostilities in Yemen. The White House also warned the bill would harm bilateral relationships by defining hostilities as including defense cooperations such as aerial refueling. The Hill's Rebecca Keel has more here on how the vote puts Trump in a veto bind. Survey: military families in private housing face numerous safety hazards. More than 50% of military families living on U.S. bases found their privately managed military housing dissatisfying, with issues including black mold, vermin infestations and lead paint, according to a survey released Wednesday. The survey, commissioned by the nonpartisan armed services organization Military Family Advisory Network, collected responses from nearly 15,000 families across 46 states who currently or recently lived in privatized military housing. It found that 56% of families had a negative or very negative experience in privately managed military housing, while 16% of respondents had a positive experience. What the survey found: military families are living in dangerous situations with reports of the existence of black mold, lead paint, faulty wiring, poor water quality, pesticides, and a wide variety of vermin, insects, and other animals, e.g., bats, skunks, and squirrels, in their homes, the group stated in a summary of the survey findings. Families report illnesses with lifelong implications caused by poor housing conditions, and those that file reports and request remediation are often denied or ignored. It added, "Our results show a systemic problem that does not discriminate among location, rank, or branch of service." Conflicting reports. The survey results contradict the findings of reports that the Defense Department has released over recent years, which have said that almost 90% of responding military families would recommend privatized military housing. Those Pentagon reports rely on data collected by the private real estate firms that operate base housing. The company's compensation from the military is partially determined by the results of satisfaction surveys. According to Reuters, through our preliminary research it has become apparent that there is a disconnect between our findings related to resident satisfaction and what has been reported by privatized housing companies, the Military Family Advisory Network report states. Commercial company execs grilled. The survey was released hours before Senate Armed Services Committee hearings Wednesday focused on living conditions on U.S. bases. At one panel, lawmakers grilled top executives from the 5 main companies that operate 200,000 homes on bases. Senator Martha Elizabeth McSally Schumer urging ex-congressional candidate Amy McGrath to run against McConnell. The Hill's 1230 report, presented by Kidney Care Partners. Lawmakers wait for Trump's next move on border deal. Mark Kelly launches Senate bid in Arizona. Moore, Rees, an Air Force veteran, called the results of the survey disgusting and said it demonstrated systemic issues. "This is multiple layers of failure," McSally said. "I hope all of you can look these service members and their families in the eye and tell them that you're sorry, but then do the right thing starting now. I hope you feel embarrassed." Senators reintroduce legislation for new sanctions on Russia. A bipartisan group of senators is renewing their effort to slap new sanctions on Russia over its 2016 election interference and activities in Ukraine and Syria. The bill, spearheaded by Sen's Bob Menendez, William Barr is right man for the Times this week. Trump delivers State of the Union amid wall fight. BuzzFeed story has more to say about media than the president. More. DNJ and Lindsey Graham. What's in the tentative deal to avert shutdown? It's time to end unnecessary wars. The Hill's morning report, presented by the American Academy of HIV Medicine. All eyes on Trump after lawmakers reach spending deal. More. RSC includes a wide array of new financial penalties targeting Russia's energy sectors, financial institutions and political figures, oligarchs, and family members and other persons that facilitate illicit and corrupt activities, directly or indirectly, on behalf of Vladimir Putin. In addition to sanctions, it would also require a 2/3 vote for the United States to leave NATO and force the State Department to determine if Russia is a state sponsor of terrorism. Most hard-hitting. Graham added that the sanctions included in the bill, which he previously termed the sanctions bill from hell, will be the most hard-hitting ever imposed. Menendez, meanwhile, said, "The sanctions bill comes as Congress is reaching a boiling point on Trump's willful paralysis in the face of Kremlin aggression. We are introducing a proposal to actually address the realities of the Kremlin threat in a holistic way, all while sending a crystal clear message to our adversaries that the U.S. Congress will protect our institutions, allies and values even if the president chooses not to do so," Menendez said. A refresher. Trump's warmer rhetoric toward Russia has sparked years of heartburn for lawmakers, who have repeatedly and publicly broken with the administration's policy towards Moscow. Senators initially introduced the legislation in August 2018 as lawmakers grew increasingly concerned that Russia would try to interfere in the 2018 elections, but talk of passing new sanctions immediately ran into roadblocks, with some Republicans questioning if new penalties were needed after lawmakers passed a Russia sanctions bill in 2017 over the opposition of the White House. Pompeo says U.S. will hold Russia accountable in poisoning. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Richard Pompeo. Hill's morning report, presented by the American Academy enemy of HIV medicine. All eyes on Trump after lawmakers reach spending deal. Trump tweets in Persian to send message to Iran on revolution's anniversary. Mike Pompeo must strengthen diplomacy with Central Europe. Moore told his Russian counterpart on Tuesday that the U.S. would hold Russia accountable for its role in the poisoning of an ex-spy in the United Kingdom last year. Pompeo told Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov that the U.S. would impose penalties as required by the Chemical and Biological Weapons Control and Warfare Elimination Act. The UK, the US and international observers have blamed Russia for the poisoning of ex-Russian spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter during a March 2018 incident. Both were left gravely ill after being exposed to a nerve agent near their home in Salisbury. On tap for tomorrow, the Department of Homeland Security's Assistant Secretary for Threat Prevention and Security Policy Elizabeth Newman will discuss building an effective approach to terrorism prevention at 11 a.m. at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. In case you missed it, The Hill, GOP rep deployed to southern border with Air National Guard unit. The Hill, Dems unveil bill to let VA doctors prescribe medical marijuana. The Hill, former Air Force intelligence specialist charged with spying for Iran. The Hill, top Trump ally apologizes for saying U.S. atrocities equal or worse than Khashoggi killing. The Hill, Israeli Prime Minister's office deletes tweet mentioning war with Iran. The Hill, opinion, Homeland Security's secrecy over border terrorist that is troubling. Defense News, Admiral to Congress, think about the 280-plus ships that didn't have collisions. Reuters, U.S. allies look for clues on acting Pentagon chief in European debut.